When a friend asks if you're seeing anyone lately and you say no, they usually tilt their head with that look, half pity and half concern. But as you drive home and unlock your front door, you feel a quiet, profound sense of relief. You enter a world where the remote belongs to you, the bed is yours, and the exhausting emotional second shift has finally ended. Data from the Pew Research Center maps out this specific reality. Nearly 1 in 3 Americans between 40 and 54 are currently unpartnered. These individuals are simply living their lives without a partner, and many have been doing so for quite a while. This demographic shift reveals a massive drop in marriage rates across generations. Gen X currently sits at roughly a 36% marriage rate, a sharp departure from the 48% rate boomers saw at the same age, and the 65% rate of the silent generation. This decline represents a generational shift deeper than a broken dating market or apps. This generation of women looked at the version of marriage their parents handed down and quietly decided those specific terms were no longer acceptable. Singlehood became the intentional shape of the life they chose to lead, a lifestyle built around a profound psychological evolution. Young Gen X girls observed the marriages of the generations before them and consciously rejected those partnerships. They saw those specific terms as a contract they were no longer willing to sign. Instead of waiting for their lives to begin, they built financially and socially complete worlds. They created lives where there is no longer a gap shaped like a partner. Understanding why this choice feels so necessary requires examining the specific childhood environments that rewired their biological definition of safety. Think back to a typical house in 1979. A father who is physically there but mentally miles away. A mother who moves through the kitchen with the precision of someone checking off a grocery list. They exist in a tense, cold silence where there is nothing left in the marriage worth fighting for. Around age 10, a quiet realization clicked into place for many girls. A whisper in the back of the mind promised, "That is not going to be me." Millions of these girls were also coming home to entirely empty houses. As latchkey kids with a key hanging around their neck and a snack from the pantry, they managed their own afternoons and did their homework in total silence. Spending hundreds of afternoons alone taught the nervous system that solitude meant safety. In the stillness, no one was fighting, and no one was making the air in the room feel heavy. Alone felt calm. Alone felt competent. These experiences permanently equated solitude with physical and emotional safety. For these women, isolation became the primary way to maintain a sense of peace. Clinical findings from Baylor University suggest these childhood patterns have lasting physical effects. They studied adults who grew up in emotionally distant homes or ghost marriages. These individuals exhibit a measurable physical discomfort with emotional intimacy. In adult relationships, they often pull away and maintain distance as a reflex. Their bodies literally produce lower levels of oxytocin, the hormone required to help you bond with another person. The nervous system adjusted its internal settings early on to protect itself, making intimacy feel physically less rewarding. This creates a specific relationship trigger. The moment a partner begins to emotionally depend on them, an ancient protective mechanism tightens in their chest. They start noticing every flaw and feeling trapped by an unexplainable pressure. Ending a relationship in this state triggers a massive sense of relief. Their nervous system has successfully neutralized a perceived biological threat, finally allowing them to breathe. This generation was the first told that girls and boys were completely equal. They were encouraged to get an education and build professional careers where they never let a man define their worth. But while the professional world changed, the social contract at home stayed the same. These women came home from a full day at the office to start a second shift of domestic and emotional labor. They managed the house, the kids, and their husband's well-being while their own stress went unacknowledged. This imbalance led to a measurable exodus from modern marriage. Data from divorce mediators suggests that roughly 80% of Gen X divorces are initiated by the wife. These women often spent years explaining that the load was uneven, only to be ignored. Eventually, she quietly withdraws her trust and closes one internal emotional door after another. When she finally leaves, she is setting down an impossibly heavy managerial role. She is no longer willing to be the only person who notices when the house is running out of supplies or when a child is struggling. Singlehood for Gen X women is often a functional alternative that works better than the relationships they left behind. They have built what researchers call lateral support networks. Men tend to consolidate all their emotional needs into a single partner. When that relationship disappears, they often have no support structure left underneath them, leading to worse health markers and lower employment rates. Women build laterally, creating an ecosystem of friendships over decades. This creates a resilient structure with no single point of failure. Emotional support is spread across multiple people who show up when things go wrong. This creates a new subconscious calculation. If emotional needs are already met by friends, adding a partner feels like adding more work for a reward they already have. For women who spent years giving more than they received, staying single functions as a rational, highly effective lifestyle choice. Living this life requires asking if that independence provides a sturdy foundation or acts as an absolute ceiling, preventing any future emotional risk. Is being alone a choice for freedom or a habit of avoidance? This preference for solitude acts as a psychological map of your life's terrain, revealing how the nervous system adapted to ensure your safety. It is a strategy that made perfect sense when you were a child in a heavy, silent house. Those defensive walls kept you safe when you needed it most. But true freedom is recognizing that you finally have the power to decide if those walls stay up.